It's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise.
Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. A very happy Friday to you. I'm Anastasia Palacios.
And I'm Mark Daniels. Thank you for joining us dead early on Bahamas at Sunrise on this fantastic Friday.
And we're certainly happy that you stayed with us. We hope that you had a wonderful week, that you're looking forward to a great weekend, and of course, a wonderful show that we have lined up for you. Before we get into it, Mark, how was the week for you? How are the babies growing? How are things?
You know, actually, right as I went to say Friday, I almost said Marvelous Monday, because I really don't know what day it is. All the days are just kind of meshing into one another. All it is baby cry, feed, baby cry, change, baby cry, love, and get the boys to school and get them home. Somewhere in there, work is getting done, and I'm showing up on Bahamas at Sunrise. But everyone is happy and healthy, and we're definitely grateful and just excited about the future.
Yeah, that's a blessing. And I think all of us with little kids this week in particular are just clinging to them a bit more, hugging them a little tighter. After the shooting in Texas, again, it's a reminder that, you know, life is so fleeting. I was telling a friend of mine, I traveled recently to the United States, and that's, of course, why I've not been on for the past two shows. I was celebrating the graduation of my oldest brother, who was finishing up another master's at law school. And, you know, Mark, every time we would go into public places, I almost instinctively started to look for exits, right? Like, so, okay, if my husband and I are separating for whatever reason, and I'm taking my daughter to the bathroom, or he's taking my son somewhere, I would look to say, okay, where can I hide? Should somebody come in? And Mark, I had not done that in previous years because the shooting had just happened up in Buffalo. It was just something that was very conscious on my mind, even before the Texas shooting. Where do we go if we need to run? What exits do we need to look at to make sure that we can escape? And I think that is just so unfortunate and so sad. And so today, of course, we extend our condolences to those lost in that shooting, those continuing to be lost to gun violence, not just in America, because it's not just a US problem. That particular school shooting thing seems to be, but in general, gun violence, even in our own country, as we know, is just too rampant. And so just extending the condolences today to all who suffer and are suffering loss.
Very well said, Star. You know, it's the times we live in, you know, this is a symptom of the time that we're in. And whether it's, you know, because we need better policies, whether it's because, you know, we've lost the love for humanity and we've become desensitized to violence and the way it impacts other people's lives. But it's just unfortunate that this is the reality that we face, and we get caught in this cycle of hearing of gun violence, getting outraged and wanting to do something about it. There's a public statement that's made, there's a rebuttal, and then it fizzles away. You know, we sit around, you know, kind of twiddling our thumbs until it happens again. But we don't want it to happen again, and we need a true solution. And there are many different ways to solve this problem. Just from my perspective, I think the family unit is important. It's important that you look after your children, know what's going on with them. If you can find signs that there's trouble there and you can help or seek out help, do that, because their life affects not only your life, they affect everyone around us, the community, and we have to be each other's keeper, and it starts in the home.
Yeah, agreed. And of course, our teachers are our support systems. And so we just hope that there would be this network of community where people notice what somebody else might miss, right? And how do we make sure that people feel accepted as much as possible? How do we help to train them and to teach them in compassion and understanding? A whole lot of work to be done. And I just hope that so many of the brilliant minds graduating and those of us who graduated many years ago are still thinking about how do we resolve the issues of our community, because while policy will always be important because it is so necessary for framework, it's our everyday actions that really do count. Well, with that being said, Mark, we've got another great show for everyone watching today. With the approaching hurricane season and recent flooding in the capital, we're going to be talking to Kevin Sweeting about the factors that influence flooding and what can be done to help alleviate the problem. Kevin, of course, is an engineer. He works for that great company called Braun that I know Mark knows something about. And we're also going to hear from the Access Accelerator client, Alan Fernandez.
Definitely excited about those two segments. We're also going to bring you Marv Cunningham's presentation from the Cat Island Business Outlook. Very exciting presentation. And we're also going to get an update on my favorite sport, football. I mean, talking about hand football, we're talking about real football, European football. The Bahamas Football Association is here to talk about the senior men's national team and what's happening on and off the field. But first, let's check in with weather with Brother Godfrey Birdseye.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, Bahamas. In your first look at weather at sunrise, high pressure range continues to support stable conditions, but breezy conditions also continue for the central and southeastern islands. Weather today, mix of sun and clouds, very warm, with a chance of a few showers, maybe lesser than some popping up in the afternoon hours. High temperature 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a few nighttime showers, maybe an early morning thunderstorm. Your low temperature going down to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Highs and medium highs and lows across the Caribbean, Barbados 87 and 78. In Jamaica, 85 and 75. In Trinidad, 90 and 78. And the Turks and Caicos Islands, 87 and 73. Across North America, Atlanta, 76 and 62. In Raleigh, 81 and 67. In Miami, 89 and 76. Dallas, Texas, 84 and 61. And Toronto, Canada, 66 and 58. As we go to the weekend, high pressure shifts east, makes way for a trough to move near the extreme northwest Bahamas. Also some streaming tropical moisture. So with a combination of that, could trigger off some showers, isolated thunderstorms, particularly during the afternoon hours over the northwest and central Bahamas throughout the weekend. Low temperature daytime again will be in the upper 80s at daytime and the low to mid 70s at nighttime. That puts you off on your first look at weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Godfrey. Due to the onset of heavy rains over the several days, a few areas in New Providence recently experienced flooding. As we approach the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season, we must understand why we flood and how to protect our homes from flooding. Here to discuss this with us is Kevin Sweeting, Managing Principal of Infrastructure at Braun. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise, Kevin.
Good morning, Mark, and thank you for having me.
Definitely a pleasure having you on. If you guys don't know, Kevin is one of the hardest working engineers in the company, and in the country at one of the most at one of the best companies in the country. I'm so excited I can't even say it, right? Braun Limited, the premier development consulting company in the country. Kevin is with us this morning to talk a little bit about flooding. So Kevin, this is all in your wheelhouse. Tell us, what causes flooding?
So flooding is all right, so let's start with rainfall. So it's a natural process. We have rain, it lands on the ground, and then that rain moves around. We call that stormwater runoff, right? And in undeveloped areas, what naturally happens is that rainwater gets intercepted or gets caught on plants, it gets caught up on the ground, and it seeps into the ground naturally and replenishes the groundwater. So that's a natural process. Now, flooding happens when we have development. So human beings, we naturally go around and we change things, right? So we add stuff and we just modify things. So we build, we have roofs, we have parking lots, we have roads. These surfaces don't allow water to percolate into the ground. We call them impervious surfaces. So the more impervious surfaces you have, the more that stormwater is gonna flow and move around. It wants to find the lowest spot because it wants to get into the ground to replenish the groundwater. That's what it's trying to do. But if it can't get into the ground, it's gonna hang up and stand around, and you're gonna now have flooding. And when we have saturated conditions, when that ground cannot accept more water and more water continues to fall from the sky, you have a buildup of more and more water, and then you have flooding.
So what you're saying is water comes from the sky, it naturally percolates into the ground if the ground is undisturbed. But once we start to build, we reduce the permeability, and now the water's looking for somewhere to go. And those surfaces can be a pavement, that can be concrete, that can be anything we're using to prevent that percolation. So we talked about development. Are there any other specific factors that influence flooding locally?
So we have experienced some of the natural conditions that are affecting us globally. One of them is sea level rise. And we also have an increase in serious storms like hurricanes. And those also affect us as well, because hurricanes will bring with it, most times, rain systems that can basically bring a lot of rain in a very, very short period of time. And then sea level rise affects us because we are generally a coastal nation, we're an island nation, and most of our land surface is very near the sea, and also the elevation of the land is very similar to the sea level. So with sea level rise, now we have vulnerable areas that are threatened by coastal flooding. So those are some of the other conditions that may affect us as well.
Yes, definitely well said. Kevin, for those who are not aware, I work with Bron as well, working in the environmental discipline. And we work very closely with Kevin and the other engineering departments, disciplines on projects to make sure you take into account these impacts that he's discussing, sea level rise, climate change, what are the local conditions. So tell our viewers, how does stormwater affect us locally? So when you have runoff and you have a flooding event, how does that impact us?
So like getting back to, like I said, natural process, I think we all want to have rainwater. And if you think about the way the Bahamas is set up, we have sort of a northern and a southern section. Generally, the northern section gets about an average of 60 inches of rain a year. And that is welcomed. We need that water for our plants, whether it's in our gardens or whether it's on a commercial basis for growing agriculture. So that rainwater is needed. It replenishes, like I said, our groundwater aquifers, which we use for drinking water. And so that is a very helpful thing. Now, like I said, once we start creating environments where that water can't get naturally back into the ground, we start to have issues where we have flooding. It could be flooding of roadways, flooding of properties, and worst of all, flooding of buildings. And obviously when that happens, that's going to impact us negatively because it's going to destroy property and cause harm and danger to us, right? So that's a negative effect of flooding. Now we try to manage that rainwater by creating systems, stormwater management systems that would remove the rainwater as quickly as it can to avoid the flooding conditions. Now, generally in the Bahamas, that's done by drainage wells. These drainage wells are vertical boreholes into the ground that allow stormwater to go into the cavernous zones below the ground. And those cavernous zones generally can accept that rainwater in a very quick manner. But because of our low-lying condition and the high water levels that we experience in these low-lying areas, our drainage wells are limited in the rate at which they can take water and in the amount that they can take. So we still are vulnerable in low-lying areas in our country.
So based off of your description just now of stormwater management and the current use of drainage wells, do you have any recommendations for improving stormwater management in the country?
Well, I think it all starts with our policy making and decision making and coming down to planning. And we need information in order to do that. So I think we need to make sure that we're collecting data. And that's done now. We collect rainwater data so we understand the amount of rainwater that we are having each year. I think we need to study the areas where we're having flooding so we can make informed decisions about what we want to do next. And those regulations will also help to guide our guidelines to ensure that we have proper design guidelines and principles in place for new developments and for existing developments. We also want to inspect and ensure that when we're building new developments, that they're putting in the appropriate drainage systems to that are going to work and provide flood mitigation. And then we want to maintain and properly operate these systems, because it's one thing to build the system, but if you do not maintain it, it's not going to work. So maintenance is very important. And I think we also want to make sure that we have disaster preparedness plans in place, because you're going to have events like the recent rains that we had several weeks back that are out of the norm. There was about more than 12 inches of rain falling over a period of 3 days. Like I said, to take that into perspective, 60 inches of rain in a year, 12 inches of rain over 3 days. That's like 20% of what we would have had in a year period. So we want to be able to prepare for these kind of conditions with plans to ensure that we limit or mitigate the amount of damage that may happen.
Definitely well said. For our viewers who are tuning in and definitely soaking up all this information, no pun intended, can you give them some advice? If somebody has trouble with flooding on their property or in their neighborhood or at their business place, what are some of the steps they can take to solve this issue?
Okay, very good question, Mark. And I think people have seen over the years, you have been living in a development or a neighborhood for a while, and you may not have experienced flooding around your property and near your property, and then all of a sudden there's flooding happening. You're going like, well, it never flooded before. This road never flooded, or this property never flooded. And that is a condition of our continuing development, because when we develop and we now raise a certain property, we remove a flood catchment area, and that water needs to go somewhere. So persons may have seen that areas, like I said, that may not have flooded are now flooding. Now, what do you do? Now, as a homeowner, and this is one of your largest investment, it's kind of difficult to pick up and move, like right away and change your location. Right. So you need to decide on the plans that you need to do. And I think you also need to evaluate your flood threat, right? So if the road is flooding, that's less of a threat to you than if your property is flooding. And certainly now if your home is flooding, that's even more of a concern, a threat to you. So the things that you can do would be to, if you can, raise the property, if you can, and in some places you may be able to do that. And let's just say if your building floods, you want to consider potential moving plans, but during a rain event, you want to prepare for that in ways where you probably remove carpet from your home, you tile it, you raise your electrical outlets up to a higher level to avoid water getting into those, and you have on hand sandbags and other things that can mitigate that. I think also you think about the vehicle you drive even, like if you know that the roads leading into your home are gonna flood, decide on what that vehicle is gonna be. A low-lying vehicle is probably not the vehicle for you. And then I guess ultimately you wanna think about where you wanna live. Now, these conditions, like I said, can affect a homeowner in ways that can be overwhelming because they don't have control of the general area. And I know that the government itself is looking at means and measures to assist persons in these conditions by putting in mitigation, drainage, storm management plans to limit the effect of flooding on persons. And that's by putting in new drainage wells, maintaining the systems, and putting in other passive drainage systems, possibly detention ponds where they can work, where they can now accept large volumes of water and keep them away from persons dwelling at their residences. So those are the things that I would recommend, Mark.
Very well said, Kevin. It sounds like Braun has all the answers, not only making paradise possible, but bringing peace to the people. So if any of you want to find Kevin Sweeting or any of the other services at Braun, you can find the website, www.bebron.com, bbraun.com, or you can give him a call at 327-8708. Kevin Sweeting is there to answer all of your engineering needs and all of your engineering questions. If you need some environmental advice, you can just ask for Mark. We have it all there, the full package. So I'd like to thank Kevin Sweeting for coming on the show this morning. He is our managing principal of infrastructure at Braun Limited, the premier development company in the Bahamas, making paradise possible. Thank you for joining us, Kevin.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Bahamas.
You're watching Moms at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Join the Click is an initiative started by Cable Bahamas Business Solutions last year when we were trying to figure out how to help business leaders as well as consumers to stay connected. Working with Canoe, working with other partners, working with the government and My Gateway to help them to connect with customers who want to place orders and want to be able to do things in a digital way.
My Gateway. My Gateway is a groundbreaking portal through which clients can request and pay for government services online. We have 28 services. We expect to increase the number of services to a minimum of 200.
I love that we're helping the government and helping our citizens to be more efficient and to use their time more wisely.
I invite you to sign up for mygateway.gov.bs and let us make government work for you. Join the Click.
In the Bahamas, small business is big business. More than 90% of the businesses in the Bahamas are classified as micro, small, or medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs. The Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center was created to serve them. We at the Access Accelerator offer a variety of services to our clients: business advisory services, training and entrepreneurial programming, mentorship and incubation, and advocacy.
Sunrise. Alan Fernander, the owner of Aleo's Auto Repair Parts and Accessories, joins us from San Salvador this morning. Good morning, Mr. Fernanda, and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. Thank you so much for joining us and for being able to let us know how you've been working with the Small Business Development Center Access Accelerator. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Ms. Relatious. I'm great. I'm doing great.
That's awesome. Well, we're so happy to have San Salvador in the house. And of course, we just want to learn more about the business and, what it's been like to be an entrepreneur in these times. Let's first get started by understanding, when did you start your business and what has the experience been like so far?
Well, my business started, it was started actually in 2014. Actually, it started as a convenience store. Then Hurricane Joaquin came about, and it devastated the island, and my business, sustained tremendous damage. And from there, I migrated into the auto industry in terms of repairs and parts, which is actually my profession by trade. And I heard about Access Accelerator during that time, right after the storm, and I applied, and they responded, and the rest is history. And there came along the pandemic, which sort of slowed things down quite a bit. Persons lost their job. Our major hotel being Club Med, they closed down. So business was very, very slow.
Yeah. It's been a time, and to hear you talk about Joaquin, obviously Dorian would have done such massive devastation in the north, but even before that time, of course, Joaquin did do some very major damage down south. And so to hear you talk about that process of evolving this business from a convenience store and providing auto parts and then having to manage through the pandemic, of course, is very real, and one that I hope those, especially from international countries, can hear, because it speaks to the plight of our people, right? And nevertheless, you persisted. You have kept on, and you now have Aleo's Auto Repair Parts and Accessories. What are some of the products and services that you provide through that company?
Well, we provide diagnostics, electrical repairs, mechanical repairs. We will sell service parts. We carry out, regular maintenance. A whole list of other stuff in regards to, auto repair. Or you can actually just drop your vehicle off, and it's like a one-stop shop. You can, if something that isn't in stock, we can order it. We can have it in a few days, well, depending on what it is, because some of the stuff, we can't find locally in Nassau, and it has to come from abroad, so that will take a little bit longer. But yeah, and we also have a trucking business that is attached to it, where we would provide service in terms of hauling containers and the like, for Secor or Club Med or whomever needs a trailer or container move from point A to point B.
Yep. All right. It sounds like you do a whole lot of stuff. And it's good to hear that on the island you have this access to these things. Of course, one of the reasons that you do is the work of the Access Accelerator. So how have they helped you to make this possible for the people of San Salvador?
Well, with Access Accelerator, the way in which they helped me, because when I applied for them, I had the infrastructure and all of the the major stuff in place. They assist me in terms of doing some upgrades and repairs to the truck, and providing inventory for the store, and actually some equipments also.
Excellent. Would you recommend the Access Accelerator to other entrepreneurs?
Oh, sure. Sure. I mean, it's sometimes you got to be a little bit patient, because there's a lot of people in the queue, so sometimes it takes a little while to get to you, but patience is a virtue. As long as you just hold on, be patient, it will work out, because it worked out for me.
Excellent. I'm so happy to hear that. And the reminder of patience. I know for me as a business owner, you want things to happen so immediately, right? And you have this vision and you have this plan, and so you expect that automatically, because the plan is in your mind, that it will come to pass, but it does take time, and there are lessons that you learn in that time. And so I think that's excellent advice for our entrepreneurs this morning, especially those reaching out to the Access Accelerator, that you're not forgotten, right? But it does take some time. What do you enjoy the most about running your own company?
Well, it's a part of my passion. It's something that, actually the business that I'm in, it's something that I wanted to do from a kid, and I must give kudos to my oldest daughter, because after walking, I wanted to go back into the convenience store, but she says, "Daddy, don't do that. Why don't you just invest in your trade?" And I'm like, "Baby, you think it's going to work?" And she said, "Yes." So, I just went ahead and I did it. It's actually named after her.
Mm-hmm. That's so awesome. I love to hear those stories of father-daughter moments. They're so beautiful. And see, we get our wisdom from our children, right? A young child should lead them all, is what the word says. So that's powerful. And of course, that wisdom is absolutely named after her. What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs?
Be persistent. Every day is not going to be the same. Sometimes it's going to be, you're going to have some highs, you're going to have some lows, but persistence is key. And if it's something that you really want to do, just remain focused and go for it. I know we are in tough economic times, but if you hold fast, but most importantly, trust God. Put your trust in Him, pray to Him. Ask Him for guidance, ask Him for the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding as to how to chart the course. Because it's important to put God first in everything that we do. And once you do that, I think everything is downhill from there.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you this morning to understand more about the business, Alan. And of course, we want to say a special good morning to Aaliyah, who encouraged you with the idea. And of course, to the Access Accelerator for continuing to introduce us to amazing people like you, who continue to push the bar as an entrepreneur, staying persistent, doing all the things that you said to do, persistence, patience, all of which are key to entrepreneurship. And so we wish you and Aaliyah's Auto Repair Parts and Accessories all the best. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Anastasia.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Our world has changed. Many businesses have been closed for months with little or no access to their customers until now. Rev Media can help you remain connected to your customers. Our trusted customized advertising packages and personalized consultants will provide your business with immeasurable support during this challenging time. Your customers are already watching. Rev Media can help you to remain connected. Call us today. Let us help you.
I used to think of the bank as my personal ATM machine. If I wanted a new car, new furniture, a weekend trip to Miami, no problem, just max out the credit card or top up my loan. I was a big baller until I realized that 75% of my salary was going to pay back all those loans. Fidelity's personal financial coaching was the best solution. Fidelity gave me a plan with a debt consolidation loan that has a built-in savings that pays 5% interest. I now only have one low monthly payment plus money in my pocket. Give Fidelity Bank a call at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit any of Fidelity's locations or visit a website at fidelitygroup.com.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're at the halfway point on this fabulous Friday. I'm Anastasia Palacios.
And I'm Mark Daniels. Thank you for joining us dead early on this fabulous Friday.
Indeed it is. And of course, we're hoping that the weather will continue to be good this weekend, Godfrey. I missed the first weather update, so I'm very happy that he's going to come to talk to us again very soon. But Mark, it's been a good morning so far.
It has, it's a beautiful Friday morning. The sun is shining. Spring has sprung and we're going into summer. If you pay attention to your yard and your plants and the trees, the latest bouts of rain has sprung the flowers in, and we should now be seeing blossoms on our sugar apples, on our soursop. The mangoes will start coming in soon. I've been seeing tamarinds and other watermelons starting to pop up. So it's the time of summer. It's the time of fruits, and a health tip is to eat the fruits that grow around you when they're in season. I know we love our blueberries and these peaches that come from this place and that place, but your local fruits eaten during when it's in season and when it's ripe is the best thing for your body.
Mark, I had some scarlet plums the other day, and I am so happy. I feel, if I get sugar apples, which I'm sure I will get, hint, my Bahamas at Sunrise viewers. But if I also get some sea grapes at the end of the season, y'all will be able to talk to me. That's what I'm saying, right? It is the joy of my summer to eat like a Bahamian with our native fruit. And so, yeah, some very wise words from the king of botany himself, Mr. Mark Daniels. Well, we got some more wise words to come. We're going to be talking about some things that are going to be happening at our Cat Island Business Outlook. We'll be taking a look at Marv Cunningham's presentation, so we want you to stay with us for that.
And we're going to be hearing from the Bahamas Football Association, and we're going to be hearing about their upcoming plans and expectations for the Nations League matches. Definitely excited about that. But now let's take a second look at weather with Brother Godfrey. I really need to go to the beach this weekend, Godfrey. Please tell me there's some sun.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us.
Thank you, Mark, and join Bahamas. Mark, you could join me at the beach. I go there every morning from Monday to Friday, and you're going to join me at the beach. It's nice, and it's going to be nice for the weekend, although we may have a couple of showers. Now, the tropics. Around the tropics this morning, the tropics is quiet and tropical storm formation expected during the next 5 days. But a reminder, the 2022 tropical cyclone season begins on June the 1st. Every day, high pressure ridge continues to support stable conditions, but some little breezy conditions across the central and southeastern islands. Forecast today, those winds southeasterly at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet northwest and central Bahamas, east to southeast at 15 knots, sea 2 to 5 feet over the southeastern islands. On Saturdays, winds become southerly at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet over the northwest and central Bahamas, east to southeast at 15 knots, sea 2 to 5 feet over the southeastern islands. And then on Sunday, across all the islands, east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet, 10 to 15 knots on northwest central Bahamas, but 15 knots, sea 2 to 5 feet over the southeastern islands. Your tides. Currently have a high tide at average 6:25 this morning. The next low tide will be at 36 minutes past midday. High gain this evening at 6:58. Sunset is 7:52 this evening, rising at 6:20. UVMX 8, your water temperature is 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and the moon phase now moving towards the new moon. Extended look, the high pressure ridge will shift towards the east, make way for and will trough to the north of the islands, and also some tropical moisture that will elevate our rain chances over the weekend, so we can see some showers and thunderstorms from time to time, particularly during the afternoon hours. For the most part, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, still very warm, and we have a few showers or a nice day thunderstorm. Temperature daytime will be in the upper 80s, at nighttime in the low to mid 70s. That's what you're rocking up from. Good weather sunrise. I'm got to the website. Back to you, Star.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. Well, I'm so excited about this next segment. Marv Cunningham, who's the CEO of Mr. Mix Bahamas and an executive mixologist, is an old friend of mine from our days working over on Paradise Island. And he spoke at the Cat Island Business Outlook about being self-employed and selling culture on a global scale. He is the man for any sort of mixology that you want. And here is his presentation for you now.
I'd like to thank the counselors for the opportunity to speak at this year's Cat Island Business Outlook. And I'll be speaking to you today about self-employment and selling culture on a global scale. So we're going to start off by the food and beverage and hospitality industry brings in a huge amount of foreign exchange into the Bahamas. The tourism industry contributes to over 55% of the country's GDP. This contributes to job creation through formal employment and self-employment. Formal employment gives you the keys to self-employment. It is common to enter any industry at a low level or entry level position. In my case, I started as a bar back over 20 years ago in the hospitality industry. Because of my fascination and interest in the mechanics of how the bar operated, I immediately got a deep-rooted passion for the beverage world and by extension, the hospitality industry. Bartending takes time. It also takes a lot of commitment. It requires strenuous training and development. The industry also requires, persons to be skilled labor in order for it to be successful. Persons seeking these positions must be properly trained and qualified. This can happen locally or abroad through a hotel training institute or a private hospitality entity that offers the specialized skill. I've entered many global competitions around the globe, and by entering these global competitions, it is a great avenue to sell culture. This is done through using indigenous ingredients like cassava, Brazilito wood, sweet Margaret leaf, bohog bush, sea grape, sabadilli, mango, you name it. This is also done through the art of storytelling, and we know that there is no one in the world that can tell a story like a Bahamian. Lastly, a great way to sell culture globally is by creating an exotic beverage experience. Think about the classic Bahama Mama and the deep history behind Sky Juice. As a result of the chance that I took, I had the privilege to represent the Bahamas and share our culture proudly. I was crowned the Caribbean Bartender of the Year 6 times over 5 individual mixology platforms. One of the competitions that stood out the most was at the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association Taste of the Caribbean, where I made a cocktail out of grits. I made a cocktail out of conch. And these award-winning cocktails were created using soursop and conch and grits. And I'm going to walk you through the techniques and the methodology of how I came up with these concoctions. So in creating, the grandma's grits latte, right? This technique was used when island folks ran out of coffee or simply couldn't afford it. This is a process where you would slowly burn the corn grits and add water and let it simmer. Then you would strain it and then you would reheat it. And this is burn grits tea. And just the methodology and the technique behind this cocktail, intrigued the mind of judges and other persons who were spectating. And that is one of the ways that you can sell culture. You reel people in and you give them what's authentic, what's true to culture. And that cocktail, I remember my my family, my mom, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, they would always talk about stories on how they would make that popular tea. And I just thought it was fascinating. And with my skill set, I was able to transform that concept and turn it into an award-winning cocktail. I was also able to take conch and deconstruct a conch salad and turn it into a cocktail that absolutely blew everybody out of the water, because nobody could fathom what a conch salad would taste like or look like visually in cocktail form, and I was able to do that, having honed the skills that I possess. So these opportunities have led to me becoming a senior beverage judge at the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, ultimately fueling a desire to start my very own beverage consulting company. And this has also led to me being contracted by multiple Caribbean tourism organizations, boards, hotels, and brands to assist with the training and development of bartenders in their respective markets to strengthen and intensify their products. Also being self-employed has led to many private sector collaborations. I am proud to say that I have also partnered with the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism by taking, part in, a lot of their key events that have happened around the world globally, and taking a taste of the Bahamas wherever we go. And this has happened at a lot of their, like I said, tourism events, trade shows, and activations. And my most recent trip was at the Travel and Adventure Show in New York City, where attendees were able to taste a spice-leafed guava switcher and a sky juice, where they were absolutely blown away, where they've never, ever dreamed that guava can be served in a beverage. So this, like I'm saying, we've also collaborated on virtual events via Zoom, where we've had interactive mixology segments. And this tool was used during the pandemic to educate and give travelers and travel agents a sneak peek of what awaits them when they visit these islands and keys. Another segue into self-employment are festivals. And another way to sell and promote the islands of the Bahamas is through festivals. Look at the Cat Island Weekend Scrape that's coming up in a few days. I'm looking forward to that. And, it gives vendors an opportunity to showcase their creations, to showcase their products. And most of the vendors who participate are self-employed and rely heavily on these festivals to showcase their Bahamian-made product. Being a vendor myself at many of these festivals, it has allowed me to create a beverage mixer that is currently being sold in over 4,000 Walmart locations in the United States. So I'm gonna wrap it up and give you, we're just gonna do a quick little recap. And that is, in my field, bartending, hospitality, mixology, is a win-win. It offers a win-win situation for the islands of the Bahamas. The food and beverage and hospitality sector brings in tons of foreign exchange to the Bahamas, creating jobs, suppliers. There's also a market for new, authentic experiences. And this also encourages those who are formerly employed to become entrepreneurs. And then, I spoke about competitions, selling culture, using indigenous ingredients, making memorable experiences, through beverage. Putting the Bahamas on the map is a, symbiotic relationship between, entrepreneurs that leave the country. And when they leave the country, they always, they always wear the Bahamas proudly on their chest. And they display, culture. And bartenders can use bartending as a springboard to catapult into other fields in the hospitality industry, enhancing your career development. You don't have to stay, stagnant. You don't have to be a bartender forever. You can move into management. You can become a restaurateur. You can become a consultant, and you can become a bar owner. And lastly, festivals play a very important role. The hospitality industry forces many skilled persons to become entrepreneurs during the slow season or even in the event of a pandemic or a natural disaster. So I hope I made an impact today, and I'd like to thank the counselors and everyone in attendance for your time. Thank you very much.
Since 1967, Freeport Oil Company Limited has been dedicated to fueling growth and prosperity in the Bahamas. We have been a constant pillar within the country, striving to invest and support our community through the best of times and the worst of times. For us, Full Call represents 21 years of strength and consistency, consistent leadership, consistent growth, consistent customer service. Through it all, we are resilient. Full Call, fueling growth for people.
In the Bahamas, small business is big business. More than 90% of the businesses in the Bahamas are classified as micro, small, or medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs. The Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center was created to serve them. We at the Access Accelerator offer a variety of services to our clients: business advisory services, training and entrepreneurial programming, mentorship and incubation, and advocacy.
Welcome back. The Bahamas' senior men's national soccer team is preparing to compete in the Nations League competition of the Confederation of North, Central American, and Caribbean Association Football, or CONCACAF. Soraya Toppin-Herbert, Women's Football Development Officer of the Bahamas Football Association, Vance Wheaton, player in the national program, and Logan Russell, student athlete at Wheaton College, are all here to give us updates of what's happening on and off the field. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, y'all. Y'all should be used to being up dead early, because I know y'all been to some training before at either 4, 5, or 6 in the morning and again in the evening. So very happy that you guys are all here. So Soraya, let's start with you. What is the current status of the national male and female programs for the BFA?
Okay, so we have actually a couple programs currently ongoing. So we have the senior men who get ready for Nations League. They're in training. So they have 4 games coming up, probably in the span of about 10 days. So that starts here in the Bahamas next Friday against St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And then they play again the following Friday against Nicaragua. And then they're going to be in between there, they're going to be traveling to Trinidad and Tobago and then back to Nicaragua on the 13th. So they have a busy schedule coming up. And then on the girls' side, we actually have our girls under 15s in preparation for a CONCACAF under 15 championship coming up in August. So we have girls here in New Providence that are training, and we also have girls in Grand Bahama that are going to soon start training. And then we have our under 17 boys also preparing for competition, CONCACAF competition, and that they're going to actually start preparing from tomorrow. So they have registration starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. To get that pool started. So pretty busy in terms of programs right now.
Definitely does sound busy. It's an exciting time in the program, especially when, competitions are coming up. The team has been training hard. There's always a camaraderie amongst the team, but also a competitive nature, also between teams. So the men's team, they're really competing against the women's team and the girls' team and the boys' team for everyone to do well in their competitions. So I'm hoping that training is going well. So Vance, just to chat to you a bit, tell us about your exposure and training as a player in the national program.
Yeah, so being a new face in the program, it's been quite amazing because it's been that next step up for my development. All the guys have been great. They've been all the guys are nice people, and they've helped me get to know everybody. So my exposure has definitely been great at the training program.
Awesome. Where are you currently, Vance?
I'm actually on a school tour. I'm at Rollins College in Orlando. So lighting might not be great. It's just me and my suitcase. So yeah.
Well, that's good. I guess you're at that point where you're making that next step, that decision. Athletics is important, education even more so important. And when you bring them together, you can have a successful combination for your future. Logan, tell us, how has your college experience been thus far, especially as a student athlete?
Yeah, I think college soccer is an awesome opportunity. If a player from the Bahamas has that chance to do that, I would definitely encourage it. It's intense. College athletics is no joke. They take that very seriously in the U.S. So it definitely is like a job. That's the biggest difference, I would say, going from high school soccer to playing college soccer. You're on coach's time. You got practice 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes 6. You're traveling hours on end on the weekend. So it's a great kind of preparation or like pool of environment to get you ready for a national program when you're flying to away games and just on a very tight schedule. The level's high over there, so I think it's great. Gives you a good experience to come back home because at home we have some awesome players as well. And then when other Bahamians come back for national team practice, I mean, the level's good. So it's definitely a positive experience to have under your belt.
That's wonderful and very well said. And I want you just to speak a little further on the experience that you think overseas-based players bring to the national team program.
Yeah, I think soccer in the Bahamas has been developing over the past few years, which has been awesome. Soccer in the U.S., I think, has been growing as well, like very rapidly. And so I think having that experience with other playing styles, different types of players, coaches in the U.S. are different. So I think just having that brings a lot of experience back home. And that's not to discredit the domestic-based players because they're home the majority of the year, training with our coaching staff, learning the system. So I think they bring a wealth of knowledge and experience as well. So I think when you combine the two, it's a really good mix. So I think
I agree.
Awesome.
I agree 100%. I've played for the BFA in any number of, club teams, national teams, and programs. And it's always an added bonus when you have a foreign-based player coming home because they do bring, a little bit of flair from their club, a little bit of influence from where they're playing. And it's always a good mix to have domestic players with foreign-based players. Soraya, tell us about the club assessment and coaching development workshops and how they've been going so far.
Yeah, so they've been going really well. Myself and Bruce, the technical director, we've been working with the clubs just to do an analysis of what they have going on so that we can actually develop a strategic plan for both the women and the men's side of football here in the Bahamas. So we've been meeting with the clubs individually just to see what they have going on within each club, because we know each club has their own environment. So trying to assess that firstly, and then from there, create a plan for the future. And then in terms of the coaching development, this is something that we're looking to do on a monthly basis. We actually started in March. We actually have another session coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. at our beach soccer stadium. And that's really just geared to giving continuous education to the coaches that we have here outside of courses that we may have coming up.
Definitely exciting. And I think what's important to state here is that the foundation of any successful national program are the club teams and definitely the youth teams and the coaches that they have. So that assessment that the BFA is doing is definitely important in feeding into the bigger picture of advancing football in the country. So Vance, I see you hydrating and you look like you're getting ready for this match in June, right? So tell us, what are your expectations for these upcoming matches and where will they take place?
So our first game here against Trinidad, against St. Vincent. I'd say, St. Vincent, Trinidad, and Nicaragua, they're some pretty big names and being promoted into this area of the Nations League. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be handed to us. So we're definitely going to have to work as hard as we can. And I know we don't like losing. No team likes losing. So we're going to try our best, and hopefully our best gets us to where we want to be.
Yes, and feel free to jump in, Logan, as well, if you want to comment on the upcoming matches and what do they mean to you?
Yeah, they're huge. This is big time. Like Van said, we promoted to League B. So the countries are getting bigger, the names are getting bigger. Playing on TV, so this is the real deal. We're going to be playing against guys, who play soccer for a living. Most of us are still, in high school or college. So it's going to be a step up. But like we showed before in World Cup qualifying, we tied Trinidad, knocked them out of the World Cup. So we have the talent. We just have to lock in at this moment. It's a mental thing. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to show the world, what we have right here in the Bahamas when it comes to soccer. We've been thriving in track and field, swimming, and soccer is going to come up. So this is just an awesome chance to kind of show the world what we got.
I agree. Very, very beautifully said. There have been any number of wonderful players and coaches that have contributed to the development of football or soccer in the country over the past decades, whether from the first national team that traveled to the first female team that would have traveled, a women's team that would have traveled. And there's been this building up to the point where we're going to peak and climax because we do have talented players, we have talented coaches, and we can compete with anyone in the world once we prepare and we put our mind to it. So I'm definitely encouraging you brothers to go there, to fight for the country. I know what it feels like to put on your colors. Like I got goosebumps just thinking about it now. And I'm wishing you guys success in your upcoming matches. Soraya, as we wrap up, are there any upcoming plans or announcements that the BFA would like to share with the public?
Well, besides the upcoming games, I think those are the big ones on the calendar right now. Just really looking forward to getting Nations League going. I think there's a lot of excitement around that. But in terms of the technical side, one of our main focus is just including the sister islands in a lot of the development that we're doing. So myself and Bruce, we're looking to actually visit a couple of the sister islands in the next couple of months. So hopefully after Nations League kind of dies down after June, we'll have a little bit more time on the calendar to do that. So we're hoping that we can hit like Cat Island, and we went to North Eleuthera, so we're looking to go to the rest of Eleuthera. And then we've already been to Grand Bahama in the past. We're also looking to have development on those islands in terms of soccer. So we're not just focused on New Providence. So that's kind of, for us, technically one of the big projects that we have coming up. So just, again, doing analysis on those islands and then putting programs in place for them.
That's definitely exciting. Who knows what talent you can find hiding away on our family islands. And, I've experienced it before where we've had a player that flew in, whether it's from Grand Bahama, from Andros, or one of the other islands, that never played an international match, never had an international coach them, but they step on the field and with their heart and determination, they contribute to the team. So very happy to hear that we're including our family island players so that we can elevate this program even further. We're talking soccer this morning. The Bahamas Football Association is here, getting ready for the CONCACAF competitions in both the men's, the girls, and the boys teams. We're here talking with Soraya Toppin-Herbert, Women's Football Development Officer with the BFA, Vance Wheaton, one of the players in the national program, and Logan Russell, a student athlete at Wheaton College, also involved in the program. Thank you all for joining us dead early on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back. Go Bahamas.
One thing, two things, blue thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right into the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery. One thing, two things.
Well, that's going to do it for us, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Bahamas at Sunrise. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. We wish you a wonderful weekend.
Yes, thanks for joining us on Bahamas at Sunrise on this fantastic Friday. Enjoy your weekend and go out looking for them native fruits. Start collecting them fruits for Star. What did it Star? Scarlet plum?
Scarlet plum, sugar apples, dillies, sugar cane, mangoes. If it grows here, I'm here for it.
Sugar apple, connect, juju plum. All that.
Get out where you're coming from. All right, y'all make it a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Take care.